Hey y'all, this is Patriot Prepper and I'm starting a new series, Financial Planning for Preppers. I know I've got several series already and there's just another one and I'm probably going to add a few more. But don't think that I gave up on the other series, I'm just having a little bit of a delay. Before I go into financial planning for preppers, I want to talk a little bit about my background, okay? In high school, I was probably in the lower 10% of my class. I was actually wanted to be, at one point, I was an electronics major and I wanted to be design electronic circuitry, I wanted to design robotics, and this was in the early, about 1967, 68. But I was a radical student. My teacher would not allow me, actually threw me out of class because my hair was over the tip of my ears and over the collar and the back of my collar. You couldn't get away with that today, but that's an infringement of our freedom, and that's what I grew up with, and that's what I rebelled against. So when I was in high school, I just didn't really care. The only thing I really liked was electronics, and after that was taken out of the picture, I just stopped caring about anything. So I was probably in the lower 10% of my class. Then when I went on to college, which there was a brief interlude of several years before I went from high school to college, because I had to get myself up to par for college. But once I was in college, I went into the upper 10%. My IQ is in the upper 1% of Americans, and all my whole life, from grade school on up, they kept saying I'm telling my parents that I have the ability, but I don't apply myself. You know, essentially I hated school. I hated it. I was bored out of my gourd. I just couldn't handle it. One thing I did want to do is I wanted to be a boxer. And I made a video on that, and you might want to watch it. Anyway, so my boxing career was ended, as you know. My idea of being an electronic designer was ended. So when I got out of high school, I was nothing. So I eventually went to college, got a degree in business, studied for the CPA exam, became a CPA, certified public accountant, studied for the CFP exam, became a certified financial planner. So I was a CPA, CFP, I had a real estate license, an insurance license, and a security license. So I had my own accounting tax firm, and then I added financial planning to it. So I was a tax firm, financial planning firm, and I retired from that about maybe 20 years ago when I hit age 40. And as you know, I had my own martial arts schools. I got a little bit involved in executive protection. So I've done a lot of interesting things, including studying natural health, and different things, and prepping, So I've had a diversity of things that I've done. And so I just want to share some of my insights. Now, in the area of financial planning, the one comment I want to make is the things you see going on in our economy and the world economy, I believe that there's nothing that's happening by accident. I think it's all orchestrated. If you studied the so-called Great Depression, which wasn't so great for the average American, it was great for the Kennedys and the Rockefellers and all the real rich guys. Some of them increased their wealth during the Great Depression by 20 times. They had inside knowledge because the central banks actually created it by withholding credit and reducing the money supply. Well, they can't get away with that trick today. Today they're expanding the money supply, but they're not putting it in the hands of Americans. They're giving it to rich bankers who are not stimulating the economy. So in my opinion, everything you see that's happening is not by accident. So I want you to understand more than anything that I believe there's a global conspiracy, and it's led by the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, and all these rich international bankers, and the same people who own and control the Federal Reserve. If you want to know anything about prepping and you want to know what's going on, study the Federal Reserve. On a website, there's links to the Money Masters, the Creature from Jekyll Island. There's another thing made by saying something about the story of Oz. I've got these videos somewhere. I should link them up. But you need to understand what's money's all about, how money's created, who controls money. You have to also study Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson, our president, who killed the bank. That's on his gravestone. He killed the bank, and he got our prosperity going again by cutting out the central bankers. In our Constitution, we have the right as a government to print our own money. When we use the Federal Reserve, they print money and charge us interest, and they create the money out of thin air. So there's no real substance behind it. So they create all this money electronically today. They don't even print it. It's electronic money, and they are able to charge our government interest on money that's artificially created. Okay? On top of it, if you understand that when they lend the money to our government and charge interest. So how does our government get out of debt? All the politicians are talking about balancing the budget. Well, you can't balance it if you have to borrow money to pay the debt, and every time you borrow, there's interest on it. So it's every time they borrow, they go deeper and deeper in debt. You can cut spending, but you're still going to have the debt as a component of interest. So in this financial planning for preppers, I'm going to tell you how to plan your finances. I'm going to talk about things like bubbles, real estate bubbles. I'm going to talk about items like gold and why you have to be careful with gold. But that's what this little series on financial planning for preppers is going to be about. One thing I want to make a comment on is, you know, I stopped doing financial planning actually about 20 years ago. But you have to understand, when I had my own accounting and tax firm, people would come to me, and they, you know, business owners, when I did their taxes, they'd come to me and ask for management advice. They'd ask me advice on all kinds of subjects. So I included something called management advisory services, and I've been doing that for oh gosh, since about 1985. And after I stopped doing accounting and financial planning, I did business consulting, and I was a turnaround expert. So if a company had financial problems, or they had management problems, they were experiencing financial difficulties, they were about on the verge of bankruptcies, I would go in and turn the company around. That's called a turnaround expert. And what I found in business consulting, that most people had problems in the areas of finance, raising capital. Small business owners can't get access to capital, and they have trouble with marketing. So I actually opened a venture capital company and an advertising agency, and I added these to what I was doing. So I've done all kinds of different things, and I get bored easy, so I like to learn new things and expand and do things. And one of the companies I consulted for was a large, well, small medium land development company, and this was prior to the real estate bubble. I was the guy actually was in charge of crunching the numbers, and I create these financial plans for these real estate developers, and I also did the marketing. So it was a nice little deal I had. But I was creating the financial plans for some of their deals, and they had large tracts of property in the Bahamas, other islands. They had tracts up in the mountains where they were doing mountain golf course communities. And I was running the numbers, crunching the numbers, and I probably about in 6 months to a year before the market crash in real estate, I was running numbers, and I said to them, your projects aren't going to work. The numbers don't work. These projects are not viable. There's no profit. You aren't going to be able to sell them for the projected sales prices that are reflected in the business plan. I said, you really need to drop these things and pull back. Well, they proceeded. I got out. I quit. Stopped doing it. And they continued, and they went bankrupt. Anyway, I also told everyone I could, I said, there's a real estate bubble. Don't invest in real estate. And I'm going to go into this. I'm going to go in the series. I'm going to explain to you how bubbles work and what to look for and what to avoid. But I'll give you a little conceptual idea here and try to understand that no market can sustain itself when it's a heated up market like the real estate. The computer, the memory gave out, so I have to stop where I was. Anyway, like I was saying, I'm going to explain to you how bubbles work, but I'm also going to go into all other areas of financial planning, stuff you could apply to your life today and also for prepping. How do you plan your finances as a prepper, including maybe land purchasing, supplies, and all that. So I hope you subscribe. I hope you stay tuned. I have a lot of other series, and there's a couple more I'm going to start, and try to give you a lot of advice. I mean, I've spent my life learning. That's what I do. I like to learn as much as I can. I mean, there's a lot of things I learned. I mean, I used to buy and sell and fix cars. I did all kinds of mechanical work. I tore down engines. I rebuilt automatic transmission once. Learned my lesson. Because I was thinking of actually buying a franchise transmission shop. So I learned about cars, transmissions. I used to do body work. I was doing that while I was going to college. And, you know, I buy a car, fix it up, paint it, do the body work, whatever it needed. And, you know, I took some courses like I said, automatic transmission. So there's a lot of things I have knowledge on, a pretty wide knowledge base. And as far, especially in prepping and getting prepared, or in your health, finances, these are areas where I consider myself an expert. And martial arts, Hapkido, extreme combat Hapkido, self-defense. I actually got involved in executive protection and worked a little bit in that area. So I've got an interesting set of skills and a knowledge base that I'm trying to share with you. So I hope you subscribe. I hope you stay tuned, and you know, maybe we'll have a little fun and also learn a few things. Okay, God bless you. This is Patriot Prepper. I want to tell you to keep on prepping. God bless you. Thank you.